All put into his administration, because Tom knows that we should be celebrating our diversity here in the county, not running away from it. And it's so important that we have a person that sees that kind of vision, and that kind of vision is lacking today in the current administration. Tom I talked about before that we saw more cuts to health and human services, youth board cuts, cuts to our senior programs, to our veteran programs, more than any other administration. And they were being held hostage by this administration. Under this man's leadership, we never saw any cuts. He worked with the youth board agencies. He worked with the community-based groups to make sure that they were efficient, but at the same time, we were able to balance the budgets in Nassau County. Tom Suozzi did that. It is so crucially important as we start to hear the clamoring for change, as we start to hear more and more people that want to see change, that they understand that this man has done it and he will continue to do it when he's elected to county executive in this year on November 5th. I need to make sure that you're going to be prepared to stand with our good friend Tom Suozzi. Are you with Tom Suozzi back there? Well, let's make sure that the people of the village of Hempstead, village of Freeport, Baldwin, Roosevelt know that in this room that we want to see our good friend Tom Suozzi elected to county executive. Join me in giving a big round of applause. Our good friend Tom Suozzi, the next county executive right here in Nassau
Eye of the Tiger. Good evening. Good evening. Buenas noches. Chris was wondering if somebody's going to say something in Spanish. Well, let me just say how moved I am by seeing all the people in this room. This is a wonderful, wonderful turnout. And for people to turn out like this because they believe in the Democratic Party, because they want us to win, because they're willing to work hard, means so much to me personally, and I know it means something to every single one of these candidates that are here. So thank you so much to each and every one of you. It really means so much to us for you to be here. And I want to thank Dorothy Gooseby again after she left. Let's give her one more big thank you. And I want to thank Andrina Wyatt, who finally came. Let's give Andrina. So, Reverend, I am not going to be brief. I got to give you the story. I got to tell you what's going on. So you please have to just indulge me a little bit, all right? I apologize in advance. I'm not taking the advice that was given to me a long time ago, the 3 Bs. I'm not doing it. Everyone knows the 3 Bs, right? Be brief, brother, be brief. I can't do that. So, it's hard sometimes. It's hard sometimes when things are not good to get excited about anything. It's hard sometimes when things are going bad to believe in anybody. It's hard to believe that things can get better. But I know for a fact that things can get better. I think what we heard earlier, that should be the theme of this campaign. Now we know. Now we know. When I first came into office, very few people really knew me. But now you know about me. I came into office. Just remember the history here. You have to be patient. 1999, Bill Clinton was the President of the United States of America. The economy was booming. The federal government had surpluses. Unemployment was at record lows. Home ownership was at record highs. The internet revolution was feeding the economy. Things were great in America. Surpluses in America. Who would think? And here in Nassau County, the county government was on the brink of bankruptcy. The bond rating, it sounds very boring, the bond rating, but it really matters. The bond rating was lowered to one step above junk bond status. And the state put in place a control board to oversee the finances of the county because the county couldn't run it themselves. They call it NIFA. That's how, the economy's great, Nassau County's a wreck. Not the county itself, but the county government was a wreck. So I come into office with the help of a lot of people in this room in January of 2002, 3 months after September 11th of 2001. The economy is softening. We have new expenses related to safety and security. And things were really tough. And you know what? We fixed the problem. We fixed the problems. I raised taxes my first year in office, but I pledged I wouldn't raise them again for 3 years. And you know what? We didn't raise taxes for 6 years in a row. The only county in New York State that didn't raise taxes for 6 years in a row. We cut the workforce by 1,200 people, but we didn't lay off any low-wage people who had to feed their families. We did it by doing employee evaluations and consolidating and using technology and convincing people they had to work, and a lot of people retired. And when those high-level people retired, we didn't replace those positions. We consolidated departments. We cleaned up the messes. The buildings were all filthy messes. It was a disgrace. The soot was coming out. See, this ventilator was all covered with soot and dirt in every single county building. Employees had unexplained rashes and bug bites in the different county offices. The fire marshal gave code violations to the county buildings, even though the fire marshal's office runs the county. We cleaned that stuff up. And most important, we cut the debt. Nassau County had $3.2 billion in debt, and we cut the debt. We reduced the debt in Nassau County, and we did all this stuff so we could balance the budget, and we balanced the budget, and we had 8 surpluses. We balanced the budget, and we had 13 bond upgrades, more than any other municipality in America, more than any other state, any other county, any other town, village, school district, 13 bond upgrades. We were recognized as a financial dramatic turnaround, the best in the country. I got an award, a national award from a national magazine, governing magazine. It was me and the governor, the mayor of Denver at the time, got this award. It's a major thing because we turned the place around. And we did this stuff balancing the budget. I'm talking about all this fiscal stuff going on, balancing the budget, but we did it without cutting the youth programs, without cutting the drug and alcohol programs. Kathleen will tell you 75% of the people in jail have a drug, alcohol, or mental health problem. If you cut the drug and alcohol and mental health programs, it may not show up right away, but it's going to be a problem in the community as time goes on, and people's lives are going to be made miserable. If you cut the youth programs, it's going to destroy the quality of life. When you cut the cops to the lowest it's been, the public safety is going to get worse. Look at New York City back in the 70s, when we were growing up, when I was growing up at least, in the 1960s and 70s. You were a little bit longer than that, right?
That's right.
You were a little less. When I was growing up, Nassau County, this was the place to be. This was the dream place. Everybody wanted to come. New York City was a joke. New York City, Johnny Carson would tell jokes late night on TV about the muggings in Central Park. There was graffiti all over the subways. People were moving out of the city to come to the beautiful suburbs of Nassau and Suffolk County. This was the place to be. Now the whole world's been turned on its head. Harlem is booming. New York City is thriving. People are moving in to New York City all the time. Our kids are graduating from school, going to college, and then moving to Brooklyn. And out here, New York City is rising, and we're starting to decline. So you have to figure out, this balance the budget stuff doesn't seem all that exciting, but if you can't balance the budget, if you can't get on a firm fiscal footing, if you can't have a strong foundation like that, you can't stand on top of that foundation and look out to the future and say, you know what, I want to make things better.
Yes.
We need to make it better. We can make this place better. We can make this place the best county in the country. There's nothing stopping us from doing it except for the leadership that we currently lack. So what happened? Ed Mangano came into office. He beat me in 2009 by 386 votes out of 250,000 votes. I wish I was nicer to you back that year. I could have used that 386 votes. 100,000 less people showed up in 2009 than it showed up in 2001. 100,000 less people. People thought it was a shoo-in. So I lost the race. Nobody really knew Mangano. It's an unknown legislator from Bethpage. Hadn't really done any big things that anybody knew about. Nobody really knew him or what he was going to do. But you know what? Now we know. Now we know. He says, you know, things were so tough when I came into office. And you know what? They were tough. It was tough all over the United States of America. We were going through the worst recession in the history of the country. When I was in office in 2008, the recession started, 2009 started, we kept the county stable. The bond rating stayed the same. We weren't downgraded. We weren't put on negative credit watch. These guys came in, they made it worse than ever. They had a tough situation. I know what tough situations were. I dealt with a tough situation. I made it better. They had a tough situation. They made it worse. So as a result, we had 13 bond upgrades. They've had 3 bond downgrades, and they're on negative credit watch. We had a balanced budget every year and surpluses every year. They've had 2 deficits, one of which they admit to, and one of which they're lying about. We worked with that control board that was put in place, NYFA. They fought with NYFA, sued NYFA, and NYFA took over and went to hard controls. Now we know. We decreased the debt. A lot of the debt was here, $3.2 billion. We brought it down to $2.9 billion. You know what it is today? $3.5 billion. And that doesn't include the $400 million they wanted to build when they lost the Islanders and wanted to build a new Coliseum. That didn't include the money that they wanted to borrow for the recent programs that they tried to put out, a $1 billion bonding program. Now we know. We know the difference between the Democrats and the Republicans. We know the difference between Tom Suozzi and Ed Mangano. We know the difference between a government that actually cares about the people and wants to help the people and serve the people, and a government that just wants to take care of their buddies and their friends and hand out contracts to the connected lawyers and the connected engineers and the connected contracting firms. Now we know the difference.